printmaking and what else is going on in the field of printmaking. Thank you. Uh, so um, to start, I'd like to just give some ideas for those who are not very familiar about printmaking, what printmaking is all about. Printmaking is an art form that involves the process of transferring images onto paper. That is how we know of it traditionally. And by this means, like you prepare a matrix on which you maybe carve or etch, and then you print it. And because you have a matrix, then you are given the possibility of producing editions. In that sense, it kind of like gives you the possibility also to democratize art, because you're able to make a series of the same kind and it provides for more people to acquire. But then the techniques itself, because it's very technique oriented, you have many different techniques under printmaking. um, what happens is that you are able to see many possibilities in image making. So every technique has its own visual qualities, and sometimes long process, very tedious, but along the way you recognize that there are many other things that you can do aside from the things that are already being practiced. So printmaking in itself, by its traditional practice, offers us endless possibilities in image making. And the printmaker, being adept with the techniques in printmaking, also realizes further the expanse of what it can offer beyond traditional conventions. When we say traditional conventions, we're talking about this kind of collective, already established norms and standards in printmaking, where you print on paper, and it's usually paper, and also that these works are wall bound, you frame them, and there is a underneath the image you will see the edition number, the title, and the signature of the artist written in pencil. So this is like if you see something like this, is probably most likely a print when you see it in the galleries and the museums. But because of the processes itself, the artist is now able to recognize, wow, there can be other possibilities. We can go beyond this. We can go beyond paper. We can go beyond form and context and form. So what I'm going to show you are the works that dared to respond to that kind of like desire and calling, if you may call it, um, that desire to go beyond the traditional conventions. So the presentation that I'm showing you Filipino artists, and I I made this in such a way that it's arranged chronologically according to seniority. And this is for the reason because I want to show the expanse or the range of generations who would have delved into this kind of attitude with printmaking. So first we have Pandi Aviado. Pandi is one of the very faithful printmakers who really invested and dedicated himself to the practice from since he was very young. He was educated. He had extensive training in Spain and Japan, and he also mentored other artists like Ben Cab, and from Bangladesh, another big artist. I forgot the name now, but anyway, and he still continues to work now. Now he specializes in etching, but then going beyond the etching, he created things like he created his etchings now in installation, like in this work called Time in a Bottle. So this is an installation of bottles where he put inside original etchings. And this was exhibited in 2012. He also installed this on the floor in the same manner where he put a lot of, he put etchings inside. The etchings are works on paper, which he put inside the bottles. And then this is another view. And then he also did a kind of like installation where this is called geography. So the images are laid out on a washi, which is paper in Japanese, because I guess of his affinity to the paper itself. So he used the paper not anymore so much as a printing ground, but rather this kind of like carpet where he put he installed the prints that he created. And then another installation work, Kuduma, which is prints on paper but suspended from the ceiling. Another artist is Ray Albano. So if we think of traditional printmaking, again, we're thinking works on paper. And Pandy actually did original prints on paper, but only installed it inside the bottles installed in the space. But Ray Albano had a different take in this is called footprints. So it's more of conceptual. There was no takeoff from the original traditional printmaking principles, but this time it's conceptual. So if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Boots, that this work, Footprints, uh,
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 won in a competition in the 1970s in Japan, a print competition. So as an installation, not performative, but participatory kind of work, the people are engaged by walking on the sand to create their own footprints. So there is a very experiential quality to it, but it's still considered, in a way, printmaking because you're creating impressions on the sand.
And if I may add, yes, it actually was given the third honorable mention for a making competition in Japan. Also, Bogi Ruiz confirmed that the original work, the intent of Ray Albano was to place a blueprint paper
Mhm.
underneath the sand so that at the end of the exhibit itself, there will be an imprint.
Wow. Mhm.
Yun. So, of course, that imprint no longer exists. But I remember it was Pandy and Bogi Ruiz who mentioned that
Mhm.
detail
Mhm.
about this work. Thank you.
Uh-huh. And I know that this was also installed in Art Fair Philippines last year, but maybe perhaps without the blueprint anymore. But I guess part of Ray Albano's kind of like fidelity to the printmaking is that, something has to be printed with that blueprint that you were talking about, like something that will last for some time. So yeah, this is very interesting. So this is not anymore wall bound. This is not on paper. This is installation, like conceptual, experiential. So it goes far, far beyond, I think this one is the one from the art fair, yes, last year. So very engaging in that sense. Now, another artist who is one of the women printmaker idols of mine, Imelda Kahipe and Daya. I've been looking up to her since I was quite young. Also, like in the works of Imelda Kahipe, it is her nature to really be explorative, and he would mix different mediums and media together to create her work. And she's also not afraid of creating works that are, large in scale and like multimedia in a sense, or different mediums. She's quite known for her silk screens, or what we call serigraph in printmaking. And what she's done in this work is she actually created a book, like a hand-bound book of prints that contains also, these are recycled serigraphs and printed leaves and collages. This is called Ninuno Territories. And in that exhibition, another component was the audio video loop. Another page. Another work is Lihim ni Oryang. This is an installation work for, I think, one of the exhibitions of the association at the Cultural Center of the Philippines. This is a book of monoprint collage on installation of drawers filled with charcoal, dried petals, and bouquet of dried roses. So again, this is something, this installation also invites the viewers to participate and to, like touch the work, open the drawers and see for themselves, experience, because in traditional printmaking, the engagement of the viewer would be just to look at the work and appreciate it from a certain distance. Although usually prints that are, the work on paper that is wall bound or, like loose prints that you can touch, they're very intimate. Um, this is a this is part of the Lihim ni Orya, which is that book of monoprints, collage, and installation drawers. This is just the detail. So you can see that there is a combination of something like, I see a little bit of something like a holograph here, and also serigraph, and then imagine being bound on in a book. So there's also a lot of craftsmanship going on in this work. And then this is followed by Benjamin Torrado Cabrera. Benchi was my teacher when I was 15. I learned watercolor from him, and then he taught me colograph, and I said that was the most boring thing in life. But then later on, like I really fell in love with printmaking after all. Now, Benchi is, I think, the only Filipino artist that I know who actually specializes in engraving. In engraving, you use a very special tool to carve, metal, to create the incisions by carving it out from the metal, the copper plate. But then he extended that because he when he studied in France, I think, I'm not sure if that's where he learned to try to do the engraving on plexiglass, and then later on thin metal sheets. But he saw the possibility of creating the metal itself as a final work after printing it. So in engraving, you see very sharp, defined, precise lines, and he's very good at it. So the skill is really something that the artist would invest on. And then later on, the plexiglass on which he engraved, he bended it, he made it quite look very fluid, and then installed it. Like you see the suspended blue and yellow plexiglass. There are carvings on these planes. And then that is after he has printed it. So these prints are also coming from those matrices that you've seen that's hanging there. And then instead of creating a planar surface, the paper or the board on which he printed, he created three-dimensional forms from it, juxtaposed with a print that's hanging on the wall. And then there's also Sid Gomez Hildawa. In an exhibition in 2005, he's been a printmaker long before that, but we did a show at Ateneo Art Gallery called Analog Playground, curated by Bogi Ruiz. He did a conceptual piece, which is the styrofoam cup. And that time he responded to his own work, Xerox of Your Smile Revisited. This is the title of this work because he has a work that's in the collection of the gallery. So what he did was to create the impression of his teeth or of his bite onto the styrofoam cups. Very conceptual, and I think this was also exhibited in different ways of installation, in CCP again, and other exhibitions maybe. And then there's Alfredo and Isabel Aquilisan. So if you know them, you know that their works are very varied. They do a lot of installation works. And one of them, this is from their exhibition in Singapore. On the left, you will see this work wing, which is composed of used rubber slippers, and there's on a metal stand. To create this wing, no? But then when they were at the Singapore Tyler Printmaking Institute, they created, as a response to this, a print of it. So what you see on the right is a screen print on acetate film with LED light, and this measures 115 by 170 centimeters. Another work that they responded with a print uh, for is Wing 1. This is the installation of a sickle, lots of them suspended from the ceiling, and there was also weighing scale and sack of rice. And this was in Singapore Art Museum, well, a collection of Singapore Art Museum, but they responded to this work through a print. So not just one print, but several prints. And this is left wing 2. So this is a screen print on acetate film with a light box, in a light box that measures 92 by 235 centimeters. And this is done in the Singapore Tyler Printmaking Institute in 2017. So there, very interesting. So what you notice about printmaking is that for every technique that you use, it gives you a certain visual quality that cannot be achieved by any other means. So that's uh, that's the Achillesans. And then following that are my works. I'm showing you an exhibition from a solo exhibition that I did in 2016 at Finale Art File. You know, when I went to see the space, it's 200 square meters. I was looking at the walls that's 17 feet high, and I said to myself, "There's no way I can fill the walls." And if I create even like 4 by 6 feet works of how many of them, they will look very small. So I got scared of the walls, so I decided not to use the walls. So instead, I created an installation. In fact, the owner said, Vita said, play with my floor. So this installation of wood panels that's measuring 8 feet by 4 feet are embedded in the floors. And if you see somewhere in the middle, you will see like a clothesline where hanging from it are the prints that are coming from the wood installations. So the wood on the left and the right, they're carved. They're my wood blocks, which I created as final work. So these are not prints anymore, but it takes off from the print because I carved them. Like I would cut a woodcut. It's actually a wood block for woodcut printing. So there's that possibility. Why not create the wood itself as a final work? And the installation in the back, I'll give you is, so this, what you see right now are layers of the prints because I was exploring printing on textile that is net-like. So I was wondering if there's still a possibility of recognizing the images, and it worked. This process was very exciting for me because it created the layers of imagery or images, um, and it gives that feeling of a certain kind of uh, very distinct feeling to it. When I was in Malaysia in 2017, I also tried to print on lace. So not paper, but lace and other material, fabric, textile. And this is actually at Juhari studio. He let me use his studio, beautiful studio surrounded by within a forest, in a forest. And this became now an installation at an exhibition in Malaysian in Negara. This is the image is 4 by 6 feet. Just to give you an idea, this is the wood itself. In Malaysia, something I appreciate there. The plywood itself can be used as a surface for creating a woodcut. So this is actually on plywood, but I also exhibited the wood itself. So it goes a long, long way. There's many possibilities. There's many extensions. And if you're a printmaker, there's just so much excitement about the process. Another work that I did is something that I repeated. Well, in 2005, 2006, I was exploring also the possibility of printing on stretchable textile. And it led me to create the transfiguration, which is like it's wall mounted and then it's also stuffed. So what you see here are many faces. This is 10 by 20 feet work. You see many faces, but actually it was derived from just one piece of wood. So it was printed several times on stretchable textile. And what I did is stuff them to create distortion, to create single unique faces that was installed in this way. This took a lot of work. I think I worked on it for 3 days with many friends helping me. Another artist that came after me, born after me, is Pamian Santos. Pam is, like she also does a lot of different works. She does painting, she does silk screen, and she has that really, very high skill when it comes to silk screen. Is her primary medium in printmaking, and she would normally combine painting and silk screen in her works, huge works. So in this work, she created a silk screen directly on the walls and with an installation of, it's an installation work with another, a real chair. And just to show you the process, this is how she would print it. So that's also one thing about the printmaker. I guess every artist, who's daring and explorative, you do what it takes to execute your idea. So a lot of assistance and all that. Another work, this is part of a bigger installation, Happy Face Collector. It's also silk screen on concrete wall with wooden text chalkboard and chalk. So you see all those happy faces. Happy faces were created with silk screen. And this is how they worked on it. So yes, you have to step on the scaffolding. You have to do what it takes. And this is the final work. 7 chairs for 7 people. So this is, I think, an example of painting with silk screen. She likes like Pam responds to her own personal experience as a mother, like domestic work and all these things was happening to her. So uh, her images would be very consistent with her personal experience, personal day to day. And this is a view of that, how she worked on it. Another work, 3 of 500. This is 5 by 5 feet. Charcoal, acrylic, and serigraphy on canvas. And on the right are the details. So she combines, but there's always, more often than not, there would be something of a silk screen or a serigraph in her work. Another thing about, this expanded printmaking is the fact that you are not limited when it comes to scale. You can dream like big in terms of scale. And this is like 72 inches by 333 inches monoprint on wood panel. Imagine that. So if you look at the works that you've seen, you can imagine that yes, truly there is endless possibilities. It's okay to dream. It's okay to imagine. It's okay to get wild when it comes to creative ideas. These are the details. It's not a vegetable, it's a paradox. This is a mixed media, but again, there is an element of silk screen here. An installation work, finish your work so you can work. So this is a desk and there's a 3-ring binder done with, the images were done mixed media, but of course, again, there will be silk screen on this. And then there's the artist Marina Cruz. Uh, Marina's thesis in her undergrad had to do with, came about because of her affinity to colograph, which is a kind of technique in printmaking. So if you see this, this was the matrix. This is where it's printed from. So this was inked. And as a result, this is the print. And this print would, qualify for the traditional conventions of printmaking. It's a print on paper, it's a colograph. But then beyond that, she saw the possibilities. And she says here, I already have an existing colograph plate used in my thesis in undergrad. I tried to rework on this plate and applied rubber latex, then removed it after curing. I call this second skin. So is this a print? No, it's not a print, but it's a derivative from a print. It takes off from her printmaking process. That's why she was able to create this. Very exciting work. And now she told me that recently she's been doing something. It's a work in progress. So I just want to show you, partly the process of Marina. There's really no sound. I just want to show you the visuals. So what she's doing here is she inked the lace material in ink. I don't know what kind of ink. And then what she's doing right now is, doing here, she's pressing using the brayer to create the image. So you see, there is nothing. She's just very relaxed, and whatever comes out of it, it's all about the process too. So that's Marina. Now comes after Marina is Joey Cobcobo. Joey has been doing woodcuts and exploring wood and paper. And what you see in this photograph is the Sungka series, where if you look at in the boxes, you will see this paper mache, but there's prints inside. There's images inside done in woodcut. So because usually normally you have the paper and then the wood and then you put the paper on the ink wood and then you rub it. But how was he able to do this? Well, of course, it started from the idea, how can I make prints in something that's concave? um, I know the process, but yeah, it might be a secret. But anyway, another work that he did for a while is the Lola 101. It's a 101 Lolas. This is a collaborative work with his mother. So these are monotype on woven paper with crochet. The crochet part was done by her own mother. So monotype is a kind of well, there's monoprint and there's monotype, but these are very technical words in printmaking. But the idea is that it can only be printed once because there's nothing permanent that you print from for a monotype. So these are probably prints of leaves and maybe petals and ferns, as you can see. Another work that he did was he was part of propaganda at Lopez Museum 2015-2016. So this time it's another participatory kind of work. He has bakya or slippers underneath in the sole. He carved it to create the image, and then he would he would welcome the viewers to um, put them on and step on some kind of ink to create their own prints. This is an example of the print on paper. So you see, just one bakya can go a long way. Just one matrix can go a long way. There's many possibilities. Now, Yes Doctor is another younger artist who has, like an amazing kind of fidelity to the traditional printmaking, but at the same time, like with her knowledge, with her experience, with her curiosity and explorations in the techniques, the standard techniques in printmaking. She also is very open to other possibilities. So here is a work where she also, she has implements of stitching. So these are works on paper, they're dry points and monotypes with embroidery. And this was exhibited at the second edition Home Art Trans in Selangor, Malaysia in 2019. She and another artist, Anton Villaruel, were invited to do a printmaking residency. Another thing that Yas would do is what they call the handmade artist book, or it may be likened to what is popular among the young, the zine. This is Return. You see, it's a hand-bound book. This is an etching on the front, and then inside you will see other images where she would, maybe color it or make different variations. And then she's into that. And this is another, the Kapalaran, which has it even has an envelope for itself, but she created several of them. So she was also still being faithful to that quality of printmaking where you can create a series or an edition. And this for the very purpose of, not only is expanding printmaking, but it's expanding the reach of printmaking. And this one is also very handy, very personal, very intimate. So there, that's yes. Another younger artist would be Tish Hauteya, although Tish, uses the process not only for her own art, but also for other purposes. What you see here are stamps. So she not only prints them, but she creates them as stamps. So that's why they're cut out into form. And she also does workshops. This is quite exciting for me, and I really appreciate what she's doing because she's kind of like expanding also the reach of the skill itself. So she creates stamps, she creates postcards, she creates stickers. So you see the reach of printmaking is not only in the sense that it's an art form, but even beyond art form, but still an art form, and it reaches the young people. Imagine original prints as stickers for the young. There's also block printing on fabric for utilitarian purposes. She also does wall printing for houses. And also, I appreciate very much the eco-friendly packaging. These are hand printed. She also tells me about Comiket. I'm not very familiar with it, but I think it's popular among the young. So there's various stuff that in this Comiket event where where these prints are also made available. So it's reaching out not only because sometimes people think that practice of printmaking or prints, they're kind of like laid back, passe and all that. But if you look at this younger people taking interest in the medium itself and the process, then it's, that it's not just for the older people, but it's also for the young. They really take good interest in it. Now, another artist who's now based in New York but comes home for exhibition and also did residency in Mexico is Caroline Ongpin. In her exhibition in 2016, she created this very exciting woodcut prints, but in huge format, 214, like centimeters, 2 meters, beyond 2 meters big. This is Corrientes. And if you look at the detail, these are layers. She did layering of imagery on paper and mounted it on this board. Very exciting. And then she has implements of what is silver silver leaf and gold leaf on them. And then finally we have Andy Harn. Andy did a show at finale called I Don't Want to Talk About It, and you will understand why how she doesn't want to talk about it. So these are woodcut prints on the left, in the middle and the right. You would see the same image printed 3 times. But then she did something to the second one and the third one. She combined the print, the woodcut prints, with after printing it, she made scribbles with ink, with not sure if it's ball pen, but something like a writing pen to diffuse the other parts of the image. Very exciting works, very conceptual also. So you see a kind of like narrative in the juxtaposition of the three works. And then she has smaller works with the same process, using the same process. So it's a combination of print and drawing. Yeah. Okay. Okay. My computer is not working. Oh, there. Sorry. So also, before I end, just to let you know that it was very important. I think there is this association called the Philippine Association of Printmakers, which was established in 1968 with Manuel Rodriguez Sr., who is one of those who really advocated for the practice of printmaking in the Philippines, and then with the initiative of Adiel Arevalo and some other women artists, Petit Calagwas, Brenda Fajardo, and a lot of them, Evie Avellana, they established the PAP, and it still lives today, and it's still functioning, operating, managing, giving workshops. Like we have a base at the back of the Folk Arts Theater provided by the CCP, which was like given to us in 1995 with the help of actually the artistic director then, Diana Ongpin Recto, and Boots Herrera, who was the head of the visual arts then. And from there, like there's training, because as a printmaker, because it's very technique oriented, you have to be trained in order to get the skill or develop that skill that will allow you to create these prints. And then you also have to have a certain mastery, a level of mastery in the techniques, and you have to have a mentor. And that's what the PAP provides. Now, we call ourselves the Association of Pinoy Printmakers. On the left, you will see the catalog of Analog Playground, which is one of the first exhibitions that was really directed towards the exploration of printmaking beyond the traditional conventions. But then in 10 years ago or 11 years ago, there was the 40th anniversary of PAP. So we came up with an exhibition at CCP called Bakas, which was curated by Boots Herrera, 50 years of printmaking. So we go 10 years before the association was established. And it also showed these works, a lot of works. There's a section dedicated for the works that move beyond the traditional conventions. And then just last year we did, no, 2019, we did the exhibition Tirada, which also featured the works that are being done in the present. So as an ending, while printmakers all over the world collectively hold a faithful reverence to the discipline of traditional printmaking that keeps it an integral part of art in the service of the society today, many explorers invest in the exciting process of experimentation beyond context, process, material, and form. We are not trying to replace the traditional. We have reverence and faithful reverence to the traditional printmaking. But we also move beyond that because we respond to that creative zest that is inspired by the traditional itself. As contemporary art lends us no limits to this context, process, material, form, even scale, the printmaker responds with a hybrid while still remaining the faithful disciple by which he or she is able to arrive at what is discovered and produced now. So thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Ambie, for that very interesting presentation. I think you came, you crossed over, or you actually covered three generations
Mm,
of artists in that presentation. And it certainly is an advantage that you yourself is teaching in a university,
mm,
and that printmaking has been incorporated in the curriculum of
mhm.
many fine arts schools, no? Aside
Right.
from, of course, the role that PAP and now AP uh, has been doing. So thank you for that. I would like to note that this session, actually, we have 80 attendees, and I think
Wow.
many of them are also based overseas. Most
Right.
probably
Hello,
artists,
everyone.
colleagues of Juhari and Ambie, you know, in the region. So let me introduce our next presenter, Mr. Juhari Said. I actually met Juhari more than 20 years ago, although he doesn't remember that. But that was in an art festival, I remember, at Langkawi in Malaysia. So Juhari completed an art degree in 1983 from Mara University of Technology, or UITM. In 1991, he won the Permodalan Nacional Berhad Prize and the main prize in the printmaking category of Salon Malaysia. He received research grants to work in Paris as well as in Japan from the French government and the Japan Foundation, respectively. He studied Japanese printmaking in Tokyo with the artist Yoshisuke Funasaka. In 2008, he was appointed as a creative fellow by University Science Malaysia and was also awarded the Anugerah Karyawan Seni, excuse my pronunciation, in 2009 by the Ministry of Unity, Culture, Arts and Heritage, Malaysia. In 2011, Juhari was selected as one of three artists in residence at the University of Malaya. To date, he has held 12 solo exhibitions locally and overseas and participated in over 100 local and international group exhibitions. He works from Akal di Ulu, his residence located in Hululangat, Selangor. In the past decade, Juhari, together with peers and colleagues in Southeast Asia, has been promoting the practice of expanded printmaking. It was actually from him that we got this term, no? And his presentation will further explain the use of the term expanded printmaking. So Juhari, please turn on the video and welcome. Juhari, please unmute yourself. Yes. Would you like to go to your first slide with the video? Juhari, maybe you need to stop share first and then go to the first slide, or maybe move your presentation to the first slide. And if you can turn on your camera, your video rather. Uh, can we ask the tech team to assist Juhari?
Juhari, can you please allow us to unmute you?
Okay,
No,
where?
start dulu sikit.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. We can see you now. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, sorry,
Okay.
because
No, no.
good,
Can you go to the first slide, because we're already, I think, in the 5th or 6th slide. Maybe stop share first, and then because what we can see is already the
Yeah, thank you
okay.
everyone, and especially the committee of the Philippine Art Fair, and also Booth, Lisa, and my a good friend Ambie.
Okay, Juhari, would you like us to share the slide instead, or can we manage it?
Okay.
Maybe your son can help you.
Rumi, come. I'm so sorry because
It's okay.
this
It happens. It's okay. We're
okay,
very casual. Don't worry.
the first
Yeah, Rumi, can you?
okay. Oh, the first
We need to share his
the first
slide.
video.
Okay.
Okay.
Ni.
There.
Tekan ni Pak untuk gerak.
Okay.
Go to the first slide first.
Okay.
Slide number 1.
Yeah, but sorry.
Okay.
Because I'm from old school, I need to learn. And thank you again for giving me the opportunity to introduce the expanded printmaking in this region. And first of all, I would like to actually to introduce some very basics about traditional and conventional printmaking. We usually identify with few techniques of printmaking. For example, the relief printmaking or the relief printing. We have the wood cut, the wood engraving, and the lino, prototypes, paper blocks, or the object blocks. Yeah. And later we have the intaglio printing. And intaglio printing, we have the dry point engraving, also the mezzotint, etching, aquatint, and grabber. Then we have the planographic printing that includes the stencil, memograph, or the silk screen, and some of us call serigraph. But today, we are trying to talk about expanded printmaking, and we always question ourselves, why do we want to talk and discuss about this expanded printmaking? Naturally, everything will grow and expand in appearance, value, qualities, meaning, etc., etc. Sometimes the public confused and regarded artwork of expanded printmaking as sculptures. Maybe they can call painting, or sometimes they call installation, and sometimes they wouldn't want to call anything because it's really make them confusing. But I personally believe that this is because of the limitations of studies, research, and a discourse on expanded printmaking in our region. In Southeast Asia, as a region of rich of artistic understanding, like making the batik block or the telepo, yeah. Even the Malay traditional cookies mold or the Chinese angku has shown that our ancestors' awareness of the concept of repetitions and multiples. Before we start to discuss the artwork, we should aware that the key to understand expanded printmaking And remember, it's all about blocks, or sometimes we call mold, and sometimes we call metrics. And the other important things is also the impression. I will discuss the artwork in these lectures, not only for Malaysian artists, but also from Indonesia and the Philippines. Yeah. And the first artist that I would like to introduce to the audience today is Dr. Chiu Tembing from Penang. He studied in New York, and he has been exposed to the traditional printmaking and the conventional printmaking in the beginning. And upon his return from New York, he tried to introduce the material of paper pulp, because in New York, in America especially, you can easily buy the paper pulp from the stationery shops. Okay, this is the example of the work produced by Dr. Chitembing, the Chorus series, and the medium is hand paper. He told me that in the beginning, he tried to produce an emboss from this series, but he's not successful. So later he got an idea using mold, and then he's using the handmade paper, and this work was produced in 1977. Again, here he's using the mold as the block for his printmaking. And then this is another artist, Ponirin Amin, and this work entitled Alibi of the Pulau Bidung. And this is one of the most important works in the history of expanded printmaking in this country, because I was student during he produced this work, and he submit this artwork to participate in the Young Contemporary in 1981, the National Gallery, and he was the winner of the competition in 1981. Yeah, and what is interesting about this work again is that the fishing net is another form of repetition by utilizing the fishing noodles. And at the bottom of the fishing net, you can see the origami at the bottom, yeah. And the origami at the bottom of the net is mainly depend on the folding of the paper. Hence, the positions of the fold in origami is very, very important to actually enhance the idea of the making, because printmaking is about how you repeat things, no matter what the gadgets or the block or whatsoever metrics, yeah, you wanted to use. But here is using the fold of the paper to create the repetitions of the artwork. And in South Asia, normally origami is quite different from the one that we have in Japan, because in South Asia, we use a lot of coconut leaf, and the coconut leaf used to be folded to make some ritual object in our culture. And then later, the movement of the artists that have been working on expanded print was approached by the Petronas Gallery to organize the expanded print exhibition that was in 2009. So I called up a few friends. There was Saru Jamili, Izan Tae, Zukir Yusuf, and Kim Kang to present our works to Petronas Gallery. And then I started to hold up an exhibition, and we call the exhibition as a Goblok exhibition in 2009. For this artwork, yeah, and okay, this is the artwork, one of the artwork which I display at the Goblok exhibition, and the artwork is titled Untitled to Earthwork, Sawdust, and Variable Size. Yeah. And for this artwork, the artwork that I mount the important role of the stupas, yeah, the important role of creating the form of the stupa from earth, and is lighted in the center to create shadows or the impression of the form itself. And this is another one, the entitled number 1, also the earthwork and the sawdust, but variable size. Also exhibit during the Goblok exhibitions. And this is another artist done by Izan Tahe. And Izan Tahe been on the silver foil. And these are the mask, a huge mask produced by Izan Tahe, one of the artists. And this is another work using paper pulp for the exhibition of the Goblok exhibition in 2008. And this another artist, Kim Eung, mainly Kim Eung using industrial material or the 6-3, and he's using also the resin in the exhibitions. Zulkifli Yusuf mainly used 6-screen printing on canvas, and he managed to build a 3-dimensional display stage entitled Merdeka 57, or Independent, the year of 57. And this was huge, yeah. And he created a kind of ambience that you feel that you are on the stage of the independence of Malaysia in 1957. In Penang, we tried to collaborate a group of trishaws operators in the other Goblok exhibitions. So after the Goblok exhibition in Petronas, we went to Penang during the pipe pre-making exhibition, and we tried to work to collaborate with the group of trishaw operators and in Penang, and we was parodying the 6-screen printed cloths on our model around town, especially in Georgetown area. And this is the pictures of the Penang Goblok in 2010. And then we have about 10 trishaws carrying those couples around Penang town, and we see that it's a kind of like a happening during the pipe pre-making international exhibitions. And this is another artwork that we display during the Ketumbukan exhibition in MGTF during the international pipe exhibition in Penang. And this work was done by one of the younger artists, Fadli Mota. And here I would like to introduce also one of our artists from Indonesia who started to explore paper making, Setiawan Sabana. And Setiawan Sabana started paper making in the 90s, extensively using mold to create figurative. Setiawan Sabana was also trained in conventional prints, and he is specialized in etching in the beginning, and then he turned to woodcut. Later, he focused on the paper making. And this is one of the example work done by Setiawan Sabana from Indonesia. And this was his exhibition entitled Jagat Kertas in Gallery Bentara Budaya in Jakarta. I was there attending the exhibitions. And most of the work done is using mold and using the paper pulp, yeah, to create some very interesting figurative soft sculptures in the exhibitions. This another one from Jagat Kertas. (2011). And this is the exhibition, The Cosmos of Paper, at the Asian Art Museum, Yusti Malaya, Kuala Lumpur. And during this exhibition, Steven Sabana also doing some performance, yeah, because mainly during his exhibition, he used to do performance, and even the audience sometimes can participate during his performance. Tisna Sanjaya, another Indonesian artist, also a good friend of mine. He was trained as a printmaker and making etching in the beginning, but this time, Tisna Sanjaya moved into a body stencil. Yeah, instead of using a spray paint, or he incorporate his a gesture of the shaman of the Southeast Asia by using natural colors, yeah, natural powder like turmeric, chili, and charcoals, and flour as his color. I can show you some of the works, yeah. And also, few months ago, while I was doing my own research about the works of Tisna Sanjaya, I read recent finding from the magazine that hand stenciling technique have been used, that using hematites have been used 40,000 years ago in Liang, Kampusing, Maros Pangkep, South Sulawesi. And this discovery was done by Dr. Pindi Setiawan from Indonesia and his team from Australia, and a group of archaeologists from Indonesia. So actually, there are some similarities, yeah, in terms of ideas about expanded print, whereby the artists like Steven Sabana and also like Tisna Sanjaya, and they are using all these ideas of the ancient, what we call ancient civilization or ancient aesthetics in their contemporary works. And this is another performance by Tisna Sanjaya at the National Art Gallery during the Behance residency. But this time, this shaman was the artist that participate in the residency. And they are from Japan, they are from Philippines, they are from Malaysia, who sprinkles those powder onto his body and create a body stenciling in his work. Yeah. Okay, this is the video of Tisna Sanjaya, the detailed video. I can play it again. Eh? And this performance was done by Tisna Sanjaya during the residencies in Malaysia in 2017. And look how he actually stenciling his body. And he's using the turmeric powder. Sometimes he used the charcoal powder for his prints. And imagine, he was one of the students who was trained making etching many years ago, but with the awareness and some experience, knowledge about printmaking, he has been expanding his know-how in printmaking into something very exciting. Yeah. Sometimes he drew on the canvas. And of course, sometimes he looks so dirty. Okay. And another one, another artist that I wanted to introduce is Ambie Abaño from Manila. The artist, a good friend of mine, whom I know for the last, I think, more than 20 years. And she began his career in making woodcut prints, and then she from woodcut prints she moved into silk screen, and then later uh, uh, she moved into expanded printmaking. And as you can see, Ambie produced one of her works at the National Gallery during the residencies, and then she used the woodcut prints, and then from the woodcut prints she transferred the woodcut print into silk screen onto fabric, and later she assembled like relief soft sculptures. And this is Ambie while she was working at my studio in Akaliulu. And this is the work that done by Ambie at the National Gallery during the residency project in 2017. And this is a very huge book entitled Transfigurations, a woodcut that she managed to convert into a silk screen, and then she convert the silk screen into relief, soft relief sculptures on the wall. And then we have another Goblocks exhibition at the G13 Gallery in Kuala Lumpur in 2018. Yeah, because our last exhibition that was after Penang, we take a break for almost 8 years, and then we started again in 2018. And this is the promo for the Goblock exhibition. And in this new exhibition in 2008, we have new members. There is Faizal Suhaib, and we have some student Wahab. and Sharu Jamili. And mainly the younger artists, they are more fond of into video, for example, like Samsudin Wahab, or some of us sometimes call him Budin. And Faisal still stick to his love to the nature. And Sarur Jamili, his love affair with the blocks, yeah, can be seen in most of his work in the Go Block exhibition. And this is another Go Block exhibition, or the expanded printmaking exhibition. Oh, I don't know. And this was our exhibition last year, 2020, and the Go Block exhibitions. And it was the title Waba, or the pandemic. And this exhibition was done during the pandemic, yeah, in Kuala Lumpur. But we was quite lucky at the time, because the public can still visit the gallery, and but we have some limitation, but we couldn't have the opening ceremony. And normally during the Go Block exhibition in Kuala Lumpur, we were open to the public, and we have a session, lectures by the artists, and sometimes discourse among the visitors and the artists, so that we believe that we wanted to educate the publics, yeah, educate the art enthusiasts, and what is printmaking all about, and what is expanded printmaking that we try to promote all these files. And of course, sometimes we need to have like workshops, yeah, during the exhibition. But I guess some of the workshop we try to organize not only during the Go Block exhibition, but our members like Samsudin Wahab, Faizal Suif, and other younger artists, they normally travel and travel outside Kuala Lumpur to conduct remaking workshop in order to make the public to understand better the basics of printmaking or the conventional prints. And then when they really understand about the conventional prints, they can, I think, easier for them to understand what is expanded printmaking. So, okay, thank you very much. That's all my lecture and my presentation today. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Juhari.
Yeah, welcome.
So we'll proceed with the open, the conversation and open forum. We have a few questions, but I would also like to say that two presentations we witnessed, we saw today um, is not a definitive, no, or a comprehensive representation. So it's basically an introduction, I think, no,
Yeah.
to this concept of expanded printmaking,
Mhm.
and that in fact during our planning meetings, I did mention to Juhari and Ambie if let us explore the possibility of doing perhaps another conversation with other artists, no, in the region. So I just
Yeah.
want to note that. Um, Let me first give you just to start the conversation, the discussion. No? Let's begin with the origin story. I gave you two questions earlier. What attracted you to printmaking as a young artist then? And what led you to explore or expand the boundaries of printmaking?
Okay, who first?
Yeah, so who would like to start first? Sige,
Well, I can
Ambie?
start.
Sige, Ambie.
Jerry doesn't mind. Well, actually, like I said in the beginning, I didn't like holograph when Benji was teaching me when I
Yeah.
was 15. But then I was invited by him another time, and I cannot just say no because Benji is so nice. Maybe years after, and then I saw in the workshop what they were doing. It's very interesting. But I wanted to be, my ambition was to be a master etcher. But
Mhm.
when I saw the woodcuts of Pande Aviado, that gave me this big idea that, oh, it's something that I can do in the house because I don't need an etching press. And
Mhm.
then when I was into it, I saw the possibilities from there. Like woodcut, how big a scale, because I like working on big works. And I said, how big a woodcut can I make?
Mhm.
And so, I went on with it. And then in my master's thesis, I have to explore further. And so I thought of printing, because we have limited sizes also of paper. So I thought, what is bigger than paper? And so I thought of textile. And then I
Mhm.
don't like, sometimes my images are too precise and I wanted to distort the portraits. And I said, what ways can I distort the portraits? So stretchable textile and all that.
Yeah.
And then one thing leads to another.
Mhm.
And so far, the biggest woodcut that I've done is something like 7 by 11 feet.
Mm.
So endless possibilities.
So for that 7 by 11 feet work, is it just one? Is the template or the matrix one whole piece, or is
No,
it
no, no. It's not
tiled?
possible. Somebody makes for me, like put them together, put the wood together,
Mm-hmm.
and then I
Mm-hmm.
work on it
Ah,
part by
okay.
part.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. Thank
And
you.
Ambi, do you have any assistant helping you normally to do the rubbing? Because I guess
Oh,
it must be.
definitely, Jari, definitely. Like I have wonderful previous students who are so willing to work. Sometimes we would be, when I'm printing on canvas, we would be like really, literally rubbing for hours
Mm.
with sweat all over us. And there would
Okay.
be like maybe four of us, five of us, because you don't want the ink to dry. Yeah.
Mm. It's free workout, diba?
Pre-workout.
Exercise. That's what I remember
Exercising.
about you, Juhari, when I saw you making that woodcut print at Langkawi. My first impression was you were like in a gym,
Uh,
exercising because of the scale of the work that you were working on.
actually, when we started to make woodcut, we started from small sizes,
Mm-hmm.
because we always introduced to machine to work together and to
Mm.
help in our works. But later, when you become very, very ambitious, and there will be no machine that can fix your sizes that you
Right.
imagine that you wanted to do. For example, the introduction when I used the chainsaw to make the woodcut. Yeah,
Mm.
size is 4 by 16 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You couldn't find an etching press that can help you to print 4 times 16 feet. So I I do it myself. I don't have any assistant to do the rubbing, but I'm using the watercolor canvas. Yeah, watercolor canvas to replace the paper.
Mm.
Because I need to use canvas in order to make and to handle it easier, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on canvas rather than on paper. This is about how you manage, yeah, how you manage the technique and how you tend to solve the problems in printmaking. Because I guess in printmaking is not like making watercolor or some painting, yeah, we need to be innovative in order to solve our problems. That's how I feel.
And
And
what started you? What drawn before you expanded the boundaries of printmaking? What attracted you to printmaking itself? When do you remember when you were a young artist?
as a young artist, naturally, I'm a person that loves challenge. Yeah? And those attitude actually uh, I will carry whenever I goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love challenge, and sometimes I love innovative ideas, and this lead me to do many things by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And usually artists, they are creative people, but expanded filmmaking is about innovative frame of minds. And at the end of the day, after working almost 40 years in filmmaking, uh, art practice is all about to discover inner self. You
Mm-hmm.
know? You know yourself better when you make more artworks and you get involved with so many projects with your friends or with the higher institutions. And that is the reason I always engage myself working with university students sometimes and private galleries, even the people from the village, yeah, my works.
Um, ca- I'd like to remind the attendees you can type in your questions in the Q&A box. Yes, Ambi.
Yeah, I
Somehow
was
don't
just
read.
going to, like a follow-up comment about Juhari saying that it's finding your inner self. In printmaking, another thing that would draw you to it is, the process is contemplative. It's very meditative because you
Mm-hmm.
repeat things and you have to be very focused. Yeah. And on
Right.
another note, Boots,
Mm-hmm.
just today is very timely because, and I'm quite excited because I received on Facebook a message from somebody from Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I posted this talk, and then if I may read, this is just quick. Hi,
Yes,
Abano.
yes.
It is so interesting that in Vietnam, we just have done the international conference on the printmaking art. In this event, printmakers from Vietnam, Thailand, India, Laos, Indonesia discuss about expanding that art in every country. I
Mm-hmm.
have the
When was that,
article.
Ambi?
Ah,
When was that?
this is just today before we
Uh-huh.
No, I
started.
mean when
It
The
did it?
says
workshop.
April 27, just this year.
Very recently,
Just
a few
recently,
weeks
very
ago. Yeah.
recently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's curious they did not know about Malaysia and the Philippines, but now they're connecting. So
Mm-hmm.
that's Vietnam, Thailand, India, Laos, Indonesia. So it just shows us that this is really something that's naturally coming out,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
in all countries. So it's really a trajectory. I think it's a natural unfolding or evolution of print.
Mm. I
And
think, yeah. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
because sometimes the question is, what is a print? Do we
Mm-mm.
qualify these works as print? And there had been a problem before. I mean, I personally had a problem before when my work in the Philippine Art Awards was not considered a print. To me, that is a print because
Mm.
it's inherent. It's integral. The print quality or the print element in it is integral in the work itself. So it
Right.
cannot be not a print
Mm-mm.
because without
Mm-mm.
the skill, without the mastery, then that could not have been done the way that it is.
Mm-mm. Yeah. And I think we
Mostly,
go. Sige, go ahead,
oh,
Juhari.
sorry, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mostly the public, we are taught that prints is not an original works because
Mm.
they have editions, they have copies, and prints normally they always compare to photocopy or duplicates, yeah,
Mm.
pieces. But I think the artists need to organize more workshops or more the literature to educate the public so that the artwork they produce are all hand printed. It's all done by hands. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And then from the conventional printmaking, from the edition or from the traditional printmaking, we also can introduce that printmaking can be something else. Yeah, just like the sculptures. Sculptures, if we study the word sculpture itself, defined as something like you carve things from the stone, you carve something from the wood, and from the carving you create new forms. That is the definitions of the word sculptures. But when the technology came, and they introduced castings, and there are a lot of artists who did castings instead of carving the blocks, carving the wood or carving the stones. And then when the technology improved, from the casting, they have the welding, construction, or whatsoever. Then we have the construct series, whereby they use metal to weld the metal into form a sculptures. And then it will grow and grow and grows. And they work together with the foundry, with the factory to produce bigger sculpture. And the word sculpture has moved into like public art, but it's still so there's an evolution in every form of art. But I guess because there are not many literatures and we have not many discourse that have been held about printmaking, the public is unaware about what we are doing now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Perhaps this is a start of a forum, no? A
Yeah,
venue where we can, aside from this actual session, it's recording that will be made available later. We would like to explore other venues, possible programs that would encourage the discussion, no? And discussion about this particular concept of expanded printmaking. I especially I wanted to note in your presentation, Juhari, how you included the use of the production of cookies, no, which we also have here in the
cookies,
Philippines, and also paper folding and the leaf folding, which is also a practice here in the Philippines, no, as
I saw
related
that
to the concept of
in
matrix.
Philippines, a lot of cookies, and you have the
Mm.
mold. Mold is about the block,
Yeah.
But mainly because we make cookies and we don't really make some research and studies that cookie is part of prints, and we can call it as an edible prints, And we are more familiar with origami from Japan, but we are not familiar with coconut leaf fold as a ritual object that I saw in Sarawak, in Sabah, in Philippines. And for example, we have the ketupat, and we celebrate the festival, after the fasting month, and we have the ketupat, and they are folded coconut leaf, and that is also another form of origami, and I consider origami is a form of prints,
Because it has a template, no?
Because can repeat, can fold and repeat, same form.
Perhaps in relation to that, on May 15, we have an annual festival here in the Philippines. Ambie, what's that? The Pahiyas Festival. And actually, the trimmings are made out of flour. A flour paste is actually spread on a leaf and then it's removed. And I think technically that's a sample of a print, no? Ambie, would you consider that? No? It's similar to what Marina
definitely
did,
you know, like if there's that transferring, you know, like if there's that capturing of the impression, that is print and it's intended for artistic purpose, why not? It is a print.
Okay, let me read some questions in the Q&A box. Well, first, Mr. Virgilio Aviado, very formal, no? Made two comments earlier. One is actually, well, we need more lectures like this, and I said we are already planning on that as a follow-up. No? He also noted that one of Marina's works is a multiple. I think you were referring to the dress, the holograph dress. No? And then Mike Toma Cruz asks, what was the most interesting material you've used to create a print? Juhari and Ambie. What's the most interesting material?
I still
you've
love
used?
the wood because it's
Mhm.
very versatile and different kinds of wood give you different
Mhm.
temperaments. So you just have to work with it. You have to get to know it. You smell it. You touch it. Everything. So it's all about like I have that affinity for the wood. It's still the wood for me.
Mhm. But you mentioned earlier in your presentation that when you were in that residency project in Malaysia, the plywood quality was different.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
can you
You can
describe?
never
Kasi sa atin,
when
in
because
the Philippines, no?
I
Oh.
use the actual wood. I don't use
Mm-mm.
plywood in the Philippines, but in other
Ah.
countries and when in
Mhm.
Malaysia, like because the plywood here when you cut it, it splinters, it takes off,
Right,
it
right.
peels off.
Mm-mm. So it's the
But in
quality is
Malaysia
not.
and Indonesia, they have high quality plywood, which is possible. But between the
Mm-hmm.
plywood and the real wood, I still have this affinity with the real
Mm-mm.
wood.
Which is
It's alive
solid,
for
no?
me.
Solid wood.
Yes.
Yes, Juhari.
And for me, actually, I've been working for many years for many kind of material from woodcut, holograph, and sometimes I make lino print, six screen. I make etching, yeah. And with the knowledge and the skill that I discover from those techniques, I began to create a lot of works in the expanded prints, yeah. But when something very interesting months ago, yeah, few months ago, when I read the article about the discoveries of the hand stenciling in Sulawesi and
Mm-hmm.
in Kalimantan, yeah, and the hand stenciling is 40,000 years old, discovered by a group of archaeologists and a professor from Australia, from Institute Teknologi Bandung, yeah. And you see, the awareness, of the man, and they always try to make acknowledgement that I was here. Yeah, when they discover a place and they wanted to make a sign, I was here, and they use
Mm.
the palm, yeah, the hand stenciling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kind of a signboard for them to tell the community in that area that this is my place. And what makes them create that kind of marking on the wall, and why this thing happens? Yeah, because they don't have any awareness at that time that print is about commercialism.
Mm.
Yeah, they don't see print as like what do you call that? Like an object that they can sell. Yeah, even in our craft, for example, the kind of object that we produce, the telepo or the batiks or the folded coconut leaf. Yeah, and this makes the things interesting because in this region we don't jeopardize the concepts of printmaking by turning them into something commercial. Yeah. And to me, one of the reasons that printmaking has become secondary in
Mm.
the art market is because of the commercialism itself.
Mm.
Because artists are encouraged. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Artists are encouraged to make prints because when they make print, they can sell their artwork cheaper. And it's naturally and sometimes automatically were downgrading, and disgrading the our itself. To me, we are making traps for ourselves by making pre-making into a kind of like commodities.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, there's suddenly a surge of questions now. So
Yeah.
let me just go through some of them.
Maybe we can
Hopefully, we
think
can
about it.
address.
Yeah. Maybe we can think about it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I think that that's actually a topic that we can pursue in probably a part two of this conversation, which Ateneo Art Gallery can help organize.
Mhm.
Okay, so from Angela Silva, who's also a printmaker, she's based in Bacolod. Which universities or colleges in the Philippines have printmaking curriculum? So I think Ambie, you
Yeah.
answered this. So
Yeah, we
just for the
visited
purpose
many colleges all over the Philippines, the PAP, and it's actually part of the curriculum. Like even if you're in, usually in advertising, they have printmaking. In painting majors, they also do. It's just not as extensive,
Mm-mm.
but in the future, maybe there will be a printmaking major
a
in
program, no, a degree program,
a degree program
major in
in the
printmaking.
future. It should be coming, like we're
Is
working on it.
like UP
But in
College
Ambie,
of Fine
Cebu,
Arts?
Ambie in
Is
secondary school, yeah, in secondary school in
Malaysia?
Philippines, do the teachers printmaking?
well, actually, when I was in high school, we did printmaking as our art, part of maybe a quarter of the school year, but maybe not in all secondary schools because they offer many different things in the art class. But apparently in the grade school, because we did a workshop for the paella, and they say that there's what they call paglilimbag in grade one. So if we only enforce it, like continue this, but we have to train the teachers, to
Mm-hmm.
make them better understand. What if we want to start from the younger generation, the young kids, we have to engage them with activities like printing with potatoes, with okra, with all these things to get them the feel of it. But it has to be taught by somebody who understands. So we have to
Mm-mm.
train the teachers,
Yeah.
the public school
Mm-mm.
teachers and grade school, high school teachers. They have to be trained.
And
So I think
hopefully
that's one
our
way.
art educators will
Mm-hmm.
really work on that.
Mm-hmm.
From Lenore Lim, another printmaker. Hi, Lenore, who's now based in Canada. No, do you use or would consider using technology for expanded printmaking? For example, do a traditional etching, scan it, and combine the images. Also, digital technology. Repeat the design and then print them on long paper. So,
Mm-hmm.
any
Yeah,
Well,
yes,
I
Ambie.
consider.
yeah,
Yeah, I
you consider.
consider.
Sorry, let's have Juhari first. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I consider, the mixed media in making is allowed. Yeah, it's allowed, but sometimes we always misunderstood. For example, recently they misunderstood what is monotype and what is monoprint, and what the artist did that you mentioned just now is monoprint, not
Mm.
monotype. Yeah, and this monoprint normally a surface that printed, and then you can alter the surface by drawing, by using computer printout on the. Yeah. This is allowed. It's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Ambie?
In my case, like personally, I would still consider a print something that is analog. So I want to define it apart from anything digital. I mean, if you do a
Mm-hmm.
digital, but then there's a hand printed thing on it, that's fine. But if it's a hand print that's digitized and then printed out, to me, I would rather classify it or categorize it under digital art.
Digital art.
That's that's my personal opinion.
Mm-mm. Um, I want to refer also to something you mentioned earlier, Ambi, the visual quality of a printed image.
Yeah.
You mentioned that in your
Mm-hmm.
presentation. What exactly are you referring to? I think it's also in relation to your answer to this question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because let's say you have an etching, and an etching is very intimate, and you actually, if you touch it, you actually feel the ink. You actually
Mm-hmm.
feel it can be
Mm-hmm.
very tactile. So, in
Yeah.
that's one, and then also the quality when you're doing a woodcut. The expression in a woodcut is in the strokes, and you can feel the
Mm-hmm.
strokes by looking at the woodcut. That
Mm.
cannot be approximated by copying, with pentel pen because it's dark and dark.
Right, right.
It's the expressiveness is in the stroke,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
and then in a silk screen you see this, like overlay of colors and all that. There's certain visual qualities in a
Mm-mm.
lithograph, the softness, that the touche, like all these things. It cannot be approximated. It's like saying you can tell between an oil painting and an acrylic painting and a watercolor painting. So very distinct.
That's actually a good parang analogy. Thank you. Okay, for the next question, I think, Juhari, this is for you. How is Dr. Chu Teng Beng now? Did he have works in innovative prints on handmade paper lately? This is from Loreto Apilado. I am interested on him because I admire his research on handmade paper.
You know
paper
him
literature.
personally, Dr. Chitembe?
Loreto, do you know him personally? You can actually type in your answer. Yeah, maybe. Would you have any answer to Loreto's question?
Dr. Chitembing now is living in Penang. He told me that he wanted to go back to New York because his daughter lives in New York, yeah, but because of the pandemic and he cannot travel. But Dr. Chitembing still making some artwork that using the paper pups, and his series mainly they are more experimental kind of paper pup rather than the one that you saw just now, the Coral series, yeah. And but because I think because of the old age and also because of the his situation, because he's been traveling from Malaysia to New York, and he did not produce many of expanded prints nowadays. Yeah.
Loreto said he has a copy of his research, and he worked also in Baguio before, Baguio City. Okay, another question from another printmaker, Imelda Kahita and Daya. Hi, Meps. Time was when art categorized media as clear. Sorry, art categories and media were clear as artists and teachers. For both of you, what should be the definition of fine art printmaking now, and what ethical issues matter? I think this is an interesting question. Just to take note, we only have a little over 5 minutes. No, sorry.
Or I think when it comes to ethics, I still stand by the fact that a print is something, like it involves the transfer, but it's hand printed, but then of course the basic principle is that it's for the intention of art. Yes, it's more the intention.
Okay. Juhari, would you like to say
and
you have an answer for that?
You see, at this particular age, whereby to me, somebody can come up with a digital print, yeah, and they call that piece of digital print as fine art prints. And because we are on the age of propaganda, and to me now I'm looking and I'm aware that propaganda has become our aesthetics, and some of the works, we can argue about authenticity, and we can question whether the artwork can be called as fine art prints. And this is something very, very delicate, and there is only about the very thin border to distinguish between a commercial print and also fine art prints. It's a very, very delicate issue.
Yeah. I guess there is a personal dimension to this. No, I mean your individual.
But of course, making prints.
Yep.
But of course, making prints, if we call as a fine art prints, is all must be done by hands. It's all handmade, especially the block, the printing process, yeah. And this is some of the conditions that we have to consider to be called as fine art prints.
Okay, thank you. For the participants, for the attendees, if you notice in the Q&A, some questions are also being answered by our panelists. So because we don't really have enough time to address all the questions. No? So let me go to Ruben De Jesus Totet, De Jesus, also a colleague of Ambie, no, at UP College of Fine Arts. Congratulations to the speaker for Ambie. As a professor at the university, sorry, nawala. Bakit nawawala? Kasi Ambie, you already answered it.
Ganun ba
Sorry.
yun? But anyway, he was asking about the challenges of the pandemic. How do we teach it? It's really very challenging because I cannot make the students feel the wood or listen to the braille when you're doing the printing. But through demonstrations, I create, demos. I record myself, sometimes videos, yes. And then the conversation during the online teaching is very important. And then sometimes I make them do it, and then I in their spaces, and then I give them instructions.
I'd like to address openly the question of Isabella Kilisan, which you have also answered. No, as printmakers, do you think there is a need to re-strategize on how we are going to promote printmaking to allure and attract the younger and next generation of artists, for them to rediscover the charm of a highly technical image making, gear back to traditional printmaking, and through these push boundaries of art making? Ambie, if you can share your, and so Juhari can also respond to it.
Yeah, I think of course definitely there are ways, but it takes a lot of commitment, and it takes a lot of like a group who is willing, who have the same insight or same vision. But it's definitely possible, and in fact we can start with even the like the young people in the public schools. Maybe it can be done. We can do workshops, we can engage them in collaborative work. The most important thing is you allow them, you make them create, you make them experience printmaking in certain activities. Yes.
Okay. Juhari, any reply to that?
Here, for example, the younger artists, yeah, the younger artists, then they normally travel from place to place, from gallery to gallery, and they normally will engage workshops, yeah, among the secondary level, yeah, and they will demonstrate some simple techniques, because when we wanted to introduce printmaking to the public, to the layman, we cannot introduce them something like mezzotint, something like etching. This is something, this technique that is so complicated, and we should we should introduce something very simple, very basic. There is lino cut, there is wood cut, or maybe we can use some vegetables or any foreign object to make prints. So in order to educate the public also, we have to be smart. Yeah, we have to be smart, also be more sensitive, that the requirement to be together to attend the printmaking workshops has to be conform with their abilities and also from what they have. Yeah. And sometimes these are the failure among printmakers, because whenever they wanted to introduce printmaking, they started to talk about etching, they started to talk about some sophisticated materials and machine. And naturally, he won't encourage a bigger crowd.
I think that also answers Ronald Dulai's question. What are the roles of art institutions and the academe in recognizing the existence of expanded printmaking? So this actually is a way already of addressing that, and it cannot happen overnight. No? So in the same way as it has been quite difficult to promote printmaking, the traditional form. No? But I think a lot has been done, no, to pursue that. A question from Rashida Zainal Abidin. I hope I pronounced it right. There must be a criteria to consider the work of printmaking, how to differentiate between sculpture and installation work. I guess any response to that?
Sorry, what's the question again? How do we?
Nawala na naman. Okay. There must be a criteria to considering the work of printmaking, how to differentiate between sculpture and installation work. Or maybe I would pose a question before this. Is there a need to differentiate expanded printmaking from sculpture and installation work?
Siguro sa akin, for me is only for clarity's purpose. Just to make it clear that there's such thing as, the traditional conventions. But
Right.
then when it comes to appreciation, a print is a print. It's that's the very basic. A print is a print. If something is a work of a printmaker is still a print.
Okay, thank you. From Kathleen Silao, the question, does the choice of material for the etching affect the outcome of the final print?
Excuse me, Bu, yeah.
Sorry, yes, Juhari.
Can I tell stories about my visit to the Museum of Modern Art in Tokyo to answer the question for Musida?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. When I traveled in Europe, I saw the sculpture of Rodin, the thinker, and the Gate of Hell. And then I traveled from Paris to Germany, and I saw again the sculpture thinker in Germany, right? And then I went to Tokyo. I saw again another sculptures, the thinker in Tokyo, right? And instead to maintain the size, the big size, the original size of the thinker, they reduced the small the sculpture into small sizes, and there are many small sizes sculptures of Rodin, all over Europe and also in Japan. And at the bottom of the sculptures, you can see that 1/5, 2/5, 3/5. But because the establishment among the art historian and the enthusiasts, when we mentioned about Rodin, everybody would think Rodin is a sculptor. But I, as a young artist at the time, when I look at the editions number, to the small sculptures or the big sculptures of the thinker, I don't feel, and I don't want to understand that it's a piece of sculpture. To me, that is print, because they can make edition, and they can make edition for the mold, and the mold is the block. So it's all depend how we see things. For me, as a printmaker, whenever you see things multiply, repetitions, doesn't matter whether they are 2D or whatever they are 3D, I consider that is a print. I see that way.
Thank you for that. Sorry, we don't have enough time because we need to end this session because there's going to be another session. But thank you. I'd like to extend my thanks on behalf of the Art Fair Philippines to Juhari and Ambie. For the attendees, for the unanswered questions and comments, we will send them to our panelists for them to also respond to, and we'll send their responses to you. So as I said, thank you for that presentation and this discussion. Obviously, this presents us with more opportunities to explore and discuss the topic of expanded printmaking. So we look forward for follow-through programs, perhaps another panel session, and maybe an exhibition in the future. Ambie, I remember we were discussing about a bare hands edition here in Manila. Maybe after the pandemic, years from now, we can realize that.
We can start thinking about it.
Yes. So thank you.
In fact, we are now planning another bare hands and also another Go Blocks residency. But unfortunately, we couldn't invite Ambie or somebody else from Philippines, because of the pandemic. So we only focus on the local artists for
Uh-huh.
this time's presidency. Yeah. And we are going to start in July. Yeah.
But I think I'm sure there will be opportunities in the future once things have settled,
Yeah, sure.
and we have gotten used to this new normal. So again, thank you, and thank you to the attendees. We really appreciate your questions, especially the artists who are in the attendees list. We're very happy that you joined us. We actually wanted to bring you in as a panelist to allow you to say some words, but unfortunately the time is quite um, limited. But thank you, and I give the floor back to Lisa.
Thank you
So
also.
thank you, Ambie.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Sorry. Maybe we can have a screenshot, quick screenshot with Lisa. Esty, can you please cue us?
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more for safety. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So Lisa, the screen is
Yeah.
yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ambie and Juhari, for
Yeah.
participating in this, our Open Studios program. We're so happy to have brought the subject of printmaking to such an interested audience. You could tell from all the questions. Printmaking is one of my favorite art forms, and it is indeed quite a complex and expandable art form with endless possibilities, as Ambie says. So thank you for that. And we thank as well Boots and the Ateneo Art Gallery for facilitating this talk today. Now, please check the Art Fair website for more events at the fair. We hope to see you again. Thank you and good afternoon.